hand trap. Good hand.
Welcome back to the coverage of YCS Bochum 2018, where we're now really moving up the ladder and we're at the top 16, the second round of the knockout portion of the tournament. That means 16 players remain out of the 1,951 that showed up. Less than 1% of the field.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
No, 1% is a little.
No, the lot of players is a lot. The
We
little
get-
players is little.
We get what you're trying to say.
Good. This is good.
It's going to be the first time this weekend that we're going to feature a player for the second time. It's Dinh Pham from Germany, who we had yesterday in the last round of Swiss. Is that correct?
No, it was in the 7th round.
In the 7th round. Okay,
Six,
right.
six or seven.
The last round was actually in comparison. It was kind of quick,
Yes.
which was good for us.
The last round was Tim Cox.
We got out of here like
Bastian.
in a reasonable time. So the reason we're featuring him again is obviously not because he's playing Pendulum Magician, but rather because his opponent Maximilian is Kießling is his last name. Maximilian Kießling is playing Mech Knight Invoker. This is a deck that has been at the top tables at least like once or twice. I think twice. We had two Mech Knights in the top 32, very close to the top tables for entire day 2 basically, and we have one more player remaining with this deck.
The other Mech Knight player in the top 32 is actually just lost. I just watched him lose. It was quite disappointing actually. His opponent had a full board of stuff, and he went to mind control Bujinte Amaterasu, and his opponent used Snow to banish it before he had the chance to mind control it.
We saw Mech Knight invoked yesterday. It absolutely stormed through one of our early feature matches with a different player piloting the deck at that point.
It's all becoming a blur again.
So we know what the deck can do, but it didn't have much opposition at the time.
Yeah.
No,
so
which deck was it? Do you remember?
I don't recall exactly what it was playing against yesterday, but I know that the Mech Knights. I think it was the underperforming Magical Musketeers.
That was it.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. That was a solitaire match if I've ever seen one.
Well remembered.
Good. Yeah. So yesterday wasn't all that interesting. Today, probably going to be a different story with Pendulum Magician. Very consistent deck. And also Dinh Pham, he was both top 8 and top 4 even in Prague, YCS Prague. So he's basically on a back-to-back run. At this, he says, I want to add another PlayStation to my collection. I don't know why you would need more than one, but okay. And so that's his goal for the weekend, actually.
Yeah, PlayStation 4s only work if you have 4 of them, you see.
That's why.
That's how it works.
All right.
Yeah.
Guys, we do have some pro player opinion about that very deck, about Pendulum Magician, so let's hear it from, I think, Lorenz Roma.
So, Magician really changed since the last YCS in Prague. We got Heavy Metal Force Electromite, which lets you use a lot of cards which were pretty garbage before. It's like, we can use Chronograph and Astrograph now, both their skill effects and monster effects. The Supreme Kings got a lot better now. The deck has insane combos turn 1. It generates so much advantage, and it's just having an insane link monster that points up and down, left and right is just like what the deck needed. Before you got stuck with like, you had to go into Omegas and like, not really board control cards, but just make your board the way that you play around the link mechanic. But now you can easily get Electrum out before you Pendulum Summon. That gives you a lot of value in your extra deck. The deck is really good going first, especially with like Cerberus Engine and the Mythical Beasts just creating insane boards, which it's not like they're unbreakable, but like now you even have the backup. Like you often have like 2 cards in hand, you have the Supreme King engrave again, while your opponent exhausts their resources to break your board, your comeback just ensures you win the next turn. And the deck also is really good going second because the ceiling is just that high. They always have to use the Disrupt on Electromite, which you can often make like 2 off before you Pendulum Summon. And even then, it's like the deck isn't even really fragile against negation because like they can't really afford to negate like random scales. Then you just make a huge Pendulum Summon. The deck is full of big beat sticks that just run over negators, and I think it's by far the best pick this weekend, and no other deck really stands a chance against this overall.
Yeah, Lorenzo taking a playbook out of Thomas's playbook, taking a page out of Thomas's playbook.
Taking the book out of the book.
Yeah, I'm not the one with the phrases. Yeah, the ceiling is very high for this deck. This is a very, very fair statement, very correct. It is still the most represented deck. However, the other decks are playing catch up. It's going to be interesting to see if the Mech Knights can kick another Pendulum Magician out of the out of competition. So let's take you guys to the feature match table where these two are ready to get their game on. So DKP, Dinh, Khang, Pham, on the left-hand side with his Pendulum Magician deck, and on the right-hand side, Maximilian, Kießling. There should be an N at the end of the name. You don't have Maximilians, they are Maximilians with an N. He's playing Invoked Mech Knight. The hand for... he goes by Khang, by the way, if you only want to say one name. He told me that. Khang starts with a Stargazer Magician, if the app is to be believed. Oh, they haven't received their queue yet? Now they did. Okay, here's the handshake. In case you guys are wondering, you did see Khang yesterday already. We did mention that. And it was a bit of controversy in that match because there was a judge call that resulted in an investigation. As always, the jury was out before the Attorney General was even done reading out the accusations. So in the chat we read a lot of comments that said, okay, this guy has been cheating, stuff like that. This is not the case. There was an investigation. The result of the investigation was that he was slow playing, not on purpose. That is why it was only a game loss. It was the second time that he was slow playing. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been an investigation probably. And for the rest of the weekend, he then obviously learned from that lesson and played a lot faster. He actually did tell us a funnier story. He said in one of the earlier matches, he had one game that was not going his way. He thought that he had lost. He thought a very long time how to come back in the game. Realized that he's thinking for way too much time. So he just shuffled up before a judge could issue a slow play warning there. So in a way, he learned from this, even though I don't want to say that the solution for all your problems in the tournament is to just shuffle up. So, Maximilian going first. What do you make of this start, Thomas?
It looks very weak here. So typically the Invoked player wants to be using monsters in the graveyard for their fusion summons. And here we see an Alistair on the field and a Mech Knight Blue Sky from the hand. So really having to invest a lot of resources into this first Mechaba. Cards in hand, Raigeki and Mind Control, not the best when playing first, but he does have one copy of Ash Blossom, so total of 2 pieces of interaction for the first turn from Khang.
I have these guys' win rates up here for this current season. Khang's win rate is 73%. That's pretty good.
Yeah, he's having a good season.
Which is a little bit higher than Maximilian's, sits at 57%. Still pretty reasonable, 57%.
Yeah, Dinh is opening 5, Purple Poison Magician, 2 copies of that. Xianke Magician, I'm sure I'm butchering this name. Chronograph Sorcerer and Time Pendulum Graph, thank you. You guys cannot see it. We're dealing with some technical difficulties this weekend, more than usual. But we're going to get there. So not the best of starts for Maximilian on a scale from 1 to 10. Thomas.
I would only give that one a 4.
Okay.
So we see...
I thought you were going even lower.
I was 4's pretty good. What do your 1s look like? Did they lose already?
Well, there are 2 pieces of interaction here. One known about on the board and another one concealed in hand through Ash Blossom. So we know, we've spoken many times, you need to be able to play through 1 negation. Here we see 1 negation from the Mechaba and another negation in hand from the Ash Blossom. So it's certainly not the best hand. It's not what Maximilian will have been hoping to put out, but it's not dead in the water.
Right, and now we can see the correct cards on both sides. Also, the Mind Control is could be coming in useful later on for Maximilian here. And Raigeki as well. I mean, he's got some comeback potential
that would have
there.
been a great going second hand.
Interestingly enough, yeah. Khang is shaking his head. He's not super happy, it appears.
Maximilian, of course, has the ability to deal with that activation of the Astrograph in hand. He could either respond with the effect of Mechaba or even the Ash Blossom in hand, but with one Pendulum monster already on the field before normal summoning, it's very unlikely that there wouldn't be another Pendulum to normal summon and get to that Electromite. Generally only worth using an Ash Blossom on an Astrograph in hand if you're quite certain that that's the only way that they're going to be able to get to the Electromite. The second copy of the chronograph that was searched by the Astrograph coming in down on the scale.
So does Khan have some options to break this board yet? Not quite yet, right?
Well, Khang seems to be working his way towards an Electromite, but he doesn't necessarily want to get that Electromite banished through invoked Mechaba.
Mm-hmm.
He may be reluctant to activate the effect on the summon. Yeah, we see he chooses not to use the effect of Electromite for fear that it would be banished by the Mechaba, instead going straight for the Pendulum summon.
Right. I mean, he is adapting.
And in fact, Yankee Magician's going to be the perfect out here because Mechaba's a light monster, isn't it?
Mechaba is indeed a light monster,
Yeah.
yes.
Yankee Magician negates the effect of one face-up light monster.
Even as a quick effect too, so for so long as Yankee Magician is face up on the field, if Khang is able to activate something that would bait the effect of Mechaba, the discard would be a cost, and Yankee Magician could be chained to that activation to then negate that Mechaba effect. See here, Electromite destroys the chronograph in the scale.
Yeah, and judging by the body language, Maximilian is not exactly happy about this whole thing, how it goes down right now. And Khang seems to be he seems to be quite happy with how things are developing here.
I think we just saw Heavy Metal Foe's Electromite destroying the chronograph in the scale, chronograph being added back to hand by that same effect, and then triggering in hand off its own destruction on the field to special summon itself.
Very nice.
Khang was just giving a thumbs up, double thumbs up into the camera, which is also where his friends are located. So they must have been watching this, and he's
I
just
didn't
like,
spot that.
got that. 2 thumbs up for him here.
Yeah, this is
And,
game.
yeah.
100%.
There he goes. He clears the path.
Push.
Everything pushes forward. It's a quick handshake. That's a mental play. It's like trying to give your opponent the feeling that this entire match is over, rather than just this game. All right, so very, very quick first round victory for Khang. He's now going to look at his side deck, which we talked about this when we featured him yesterday. It was printed out, and then there was a pen, and it was putting him some serious work. Dimensional Barrier cut from the side deck, evenly matched, cut out as well. Instead, he's going with Denko Sekka and Effect Veiler. So some last-minute adaptions for his strategy. And I mean, he is in the top 16, so must have worked rather well for him.
Yeah.
Denko Sekka won't be having much of an impact in this particular match, with very little, if any, no trap cards in the main deck, and I don't think any coming in the side for Maximilian. Effect Veiler, however, that new addition, that may be quite crucial here. Being able to negate the effect of Alistair when it's normal summoned denies access to Invocation and prevents that first Mechaba from hitting the board.
When talking about strategy, Effect Veiler seems to make a little bit of a comeback this weekend. There were a lot of players that said, I currently prefer it to some of the other hand traps.
Yeah.
Some went as far as only playing Effect Veiler in their main decks.
Yeah.
So it seems like this is one of the developments in this weekend so far. That players are saying, okay, this card is getting better again.
Yeah. It is likely that Khan will play first in this game, though. Maximilian wants to go second with those Mech Knights.
So maybe, Thomas, you can spot what they're swapping out. I'm just going to go over the deck list of Maximilian. He's got Cosmic Cyclone, That is Dimensional Barrier, Artifact Lancia. This is gonna be hard to read. Oh, actually, that is evenly matched. Jesus, his German teacher is not gonna be happy. And then there's a Kaiju, there's a Gamisil, another Kaiju, and then one is the
Three
Kaiju
different
Slumber.
kaijus. Gamasil, Dogoran, and Kumongus.
No, this is the Slumber. Unterbrochener Kaiju Schlummer.
Okay,
This is the
so
Slumber.
we see 3 different kaijus and a slumber.
Yeah, that is
Okay.
it. That's it. That's really hard to make sense of this deck list.
You mentioned before the return to the popularity for Effect Veiler.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's something that's changed too much about Effect Veiler in itself. I think that's the shift away from spirals. We
Right.
saw for the longest time, Effect Veiler would have been the perfect card to counter Spiral Double Helix if it weren't for Spiral Resort.
Mm-hmm.
The inability to target Spiral monsters whilst that card is on the field just left Effect Veiler being a dead card against what was at the time the most popular deck in the format.
Right.
Now we see that deck both much less popular and much less likely to have the Resort out. Effect Veiler has found its niche again.
Yeah, shifting one deck shifting out of the format, one card shifting back in to the format. Quite interesting how that works. All right, so the Abyss Dweller was not in hand. I can promise you that. It quickly popped out
Judge.
for Khang here. And there's another handshake. He's just making sure that those handshakes are coming. And now let's look at their opening hands for that second game. I think there was a Torrential Tribute for Khang.
We see Khang also opening up with the Effect Veiler, so it was definitely brought in an attempt to deal with that Alistair.
Maximilian actually has a platinum rare Effect Veiler here.
Together with 2 Terraformings.
Scapegoat,
Scapegoat, yeah. And
Alistair.
he's also got Effect Veiler.
Yeah, the platinum rare Effect Veiler.
Both players. Okay, this is
3
gonna
copies total of Effect Veiler
Yeah.
between the 2 players' hands.
When did you see that the last time?
Certainly
What?
a long time ago.
Maximilian is choosing to go first here.
Yes, with dimensional barriers in the side deck, if you can draw and set a dimensional barrier before the pendulum player is able to make any moves, they can be sat almost having to entirely pass their turn.
Yeah, I can completely agree with Dimensional Barrier, but on his own terms, I think that Mech Knights are far better going second than they are first. Just because your opponent has to play cards for you to be able to play any of your Mech Knights.
I think we're going to see a very underwhelming opening turn from
Thomas is just
Maximilian
ignoring
here.
your setup there.
Yeah?
Thomas is just like, yeah, I'm not going to respond to that.
Well, no,
It's
with
true, though. But he doesn't have any Mech Knights.
with no cards on the field, he can't do any Mech Knight stuff, and the Alistair's not going to be able to do anything for him either. So
I think all of this is part of his strategy. He knew that he's not going to draw into any Mech Knights.
Yeah,
So that's why
seems good.
he went with this strategy.
Seems solid to me.
Yeah, that's what you want to do, right? You don't want to draw your key cards.
No, they're bad.
All right, so very little action here. And it might be the same for Khang just because of the Effect Veiler that is waiting in Maximilian's hand. This is going to be interesting. Does have Astrograph Sorcerer, Effect Veiler, Harmonizing Magician, Purple Poison Magician, and Supreme King Dragon Darkworm.
yeah, Darkworm has really been one of the key cards of the event for these Pendulum players. Being able to send it to the graveyard, special summon to the field, and get a search for another Pendulum card just means it's free advantage without even requiring a normal summon if it can be sent direct to the grave.
Right. All right. The Astrograph Sorcerer tries to put in some work. And it's not like Maximilian has any way of interacting here. He just might not want to give that away.
No, I think we're going to have to see Scapegoat used in the battle phase, just as an attempt to survive, but by then we may be staring down at least one spell or trap negation from Khang, and it might not be enough.
Mm-hmm. Okay, again, careful placement of those cards. And Maximilian cannot be happy about this.
He's trying to decide whether he wants to use his Effect Veiler.
We actually, prior to this match, 2 players came up to us and said, hey, you want to feature us? and it was, if I'm not
Tiffin.
mistaken, Marco Perico and Nicolas Meyer.
Oh.
The World Chalice versus Trickstar matchup.
Okay.
And I was like, very sorry, we cannot feature you. We wanted to feature the Invoked Magnite player. Then they were like, who's that? I told them I can't give that away. Then their friend, Dinh, Khang, Pham, walked up to them. They're like, man, we're not going to get a feature match. He's like, why? Yeah, they're going to feature the Invoked player. And he's like, oh, I'm going to get another feature match? So he knew exactly what was going on. And he's like, no, I don't want another feature match. But here he is, and so far it's going quite well for him. He did also win yesterday's feature match, by the way. So he's on a roll.
Yeah, and he appears to be playing much more quickly this time, so clearly very aware of Kiwi's presence standing over him.
Yeah.
Oh, it's very
Intimidating.
intimidating. That's a good word.
All right.
You know you're being eagle-eyed by Kiwi.
Pendulum summon for at least 3 here. But just considering those zones, obviously it matters so much more in this matchup.
Yeah.
Where each column has its own.
I find it fascinating to see how they are like trying to think of, okay, what's the correct placement here.
Yeah, Khan doesn't want to leave 2 of his cards in the same column if he can avoid it.
Mm-hmm. Could not avoid it in case for the top for the leftmost column here.
Yeah.
And what's that gonna mean? Like, what exactly is Maximilian gonna do because of those 2 cards in one column?
If he was able to draw into a Mech Knight, particularly Mech Knight Blue Sky, he would be able to special summon it to that column and search for 2 additional Mech Knights. But without any of the Mech Knights being seen, it's not going to make any difference at all.
But Khang, of course, doesn't know that. And he cannot bet on that.
Yes, so it's certainly still safer to play around the possibility of the card than to ignore it altogether.
Yeah, last thing you want is in the top 16 to be the time where you stop like playing around all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So again, Maximilian checking his face down card. That is, of course, a Scapegoat. He does have a Terraforming and another Leister, the Invoker, in hand. Also not much interaction there. So he doesn't have any way to stop his opponent, Khang, from making his plays. He does have a way of staying alive thanks to Scapegoat. Although usually you want to keep those Scapegoats until the end phase to then go into a Borreload on the following turn.
Yeah, if he is able to, not that it's in his court at this point, but if he is able to survive this turn and get that Borreload out, then he may be able to do something, but it's not looking good.
I don't see any way of getting to the Borreload here. I expect that before we even go to the battle phase, we're likely to see Orai's Absolute Dragon and then Zephyr Metaltron coming out. As we link away the Absolute Dragon, Vortex Dragon will hit the board, and suddenly there's 1 negation. And that Scapegoat is the only card that can do anything this turn, so it's not going to be allowed to resolve.
So things could be even more dire for Maximilian, who's now, he's not sitting in a good spot. He's with his back against the wall. And we did say that yesterday. I think it might have been one of the first times we had Pendulum Magicians. We said, yeah, the deck is very consistent.
Yeah,
it was working quite well for DKP yesterday, and it seems like he's just on his... He's like doing the same thing now in these top 16 matchups here.
Yeah, as we said, his Scapegoats here, he's going to preempt them.
Yeah. Maximilian has recognized that if he allows any more plays to happen, the Scapegoat won't be able to resolve, and he's likely to run out of life points before he even gets to see his next turn. So instead, choosing to flip it up now, be able to resolve that Scapegoat before Vortex Dragon hits the board, he'll keep himself some life points to try and mount a comeback with the other Alistair in his hand. Little does he know there's a second Effect Veiler already waiting in the wings.
Yeah.
Yeah, things are looking really, really good for Khang here. He seems to have everything. The question is, where is he going to go from here? And how long is he going to take to go there? Okay, it's time for the attacks, it appears.
It matters which scapegoat token you kill, and it matters
apparently it does.
which electromite you attack with. This one must kill the orange one.
That seems very odd decision to have left the Alistair on the field there.
Is it because of the effect veil in hand?
No, I don't think that the effect veiler has much of an impact on that.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why he would leave that.
If Maximilian is able to draw something like a Raigeki here, he could normal summon the Alistair, overlay the two of them for a Baguska, turning off the effect of Vortex Dragon and follow up with that Raigeki.
And I think the judge is now asking about Khang's process, basically. And Khang is probably saying, no, there is a reason why it took a little bit longer. Even though we're not 100% sure what it was, right?
Well, he did. There was quite a lot of time taken.
No, I mean, do we know the reason why he took time?
I don't think so. There was only really one line of plays that he was going to go down there.
Okay, so yeah, we've just had confirmation from the table. This is a slow play infraction, and the head judge has been called.
I think Khang's logic has to do with which zones he's gonna leave open. So this is why he claims it matters which monster he attacked, because he's like trying to do the mental maths. What is his opponent gonna play, and where are the arrows gonna be pointing from then on? I think that's his argument. Not that I honestly don't know whether to agree or not with him here, but this is his argument for thinking about that turn a little bit longer. And Kiwi, like we said before, Kiwi is very strict when it comes to that. He's ensuring that everybody's like treated the same way and all the players have the same chances of advancing to the next round. So this is going to be tough for Khang here, because thanks to those earlier infractions that he had, we have to get the head judge involved, who is deciding. This is Martina, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
It's a lot like Martina. Yeah, here's Martina. So she's now going to listen to Khang's explanation why he took the time he took, and why he was, quotation marks, air quotes, slow or not. And yeah, that is the decision making here, and then we're going to see what's going to come out.
If it was a slow play from Khang, it feels like such a waste at this point. He was in a commanding position for this game. We, of course, know that there's very little in the hand for Maximilian to be able to come back next turn. But that may not even matter. If he is viewed to have been stalling, he could receive a penalty even more severe than a game loss.
Yes, I mean, he did already receive a game loss earlier in the tournament. So the upgrade process is pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
it might be a match loss here. Even if the head judge agrees with his argument, which says I didn't do it on purpose. I was just accidentally slow.
Yeah, this is the thing when it comes to upgrades, as you say. Even if there's no large intention there, that's when it starts getting to investigations and disqualifications. But just having multiple of the same infractions over and over again get to the point where it's upgraded to a match loss. Even, PE minor is one of the most common penalties given out, which is for like illegal activations or, doing something procedurally that you can't do. If you try and illegally play reinforcements to the army, for example, 4 times over in a tournament, then that's enough infractions to get you all the way up to an upgraded penalty.
So, I mean, he did have time to go through all the hoops in his head. What am I going to do? And the thing is, sometimes it looks like a player is constantly making a move, but the judges try to look at the bigger picture. So it might be like summoning the first monster, taking only a little bit of time, then he's thinking, summoning the second monster. So stuff is happening, but between those steps, there's always time. And then after he summoned all of these 3 monsters, in his case, he might be thinking, okay, what am I going to attack first? And the thing is, you should have that entire game plan figured out when you start making those moves, ideally.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. it adds up. If you play something as part of your combo, we have big combo decks nowadays. Play something as part of the combo. Check your graveyard, check your banish pile, check their graveyard, check their banish pile.
Right.
How many cards you got in hand? What do you got? Yeah, what was the last face down you set? All of those things add up, and if you do that every single time,
Right.
That's the difference between seeing an obvious slow play of just someone sat there going, I'm not doing anything, to that kind of stuff where they're asking the same things over and over and over again.
It does appear like there has been a decision has been made on the table. The decision that our judges told us is that it's gonna be another game loss for Khang.
Yeah, because
that's fourth time that it's happened this tournament that he's got a slow play infraction. So he didn't get upgraded all the way to a match loss, which is the good news for him. The bad news, of course, is he now has lost that first game, and he was actually in a pretty good spot.
Yeah.
So this time it was different from the last time when we said, I think you lost this game anyway, just shuffle up.
Yeah.
This time he was in a pretty good spot, and he should have maybe just ended his turn after those attacks or something. I don't know. So guys, let's take you to the table where these guys are busy at work side decking right now, because they're now looking at options to swap cards, exchange cards from the main deck with the side deck to improve their chances of winning this.
So we're going into game 3 now.
Into game 3, Maximilian here will be taking out the dimensional barriers that he put into play first in game 2, knowing that Khang is likely to choose to play first. Khang's side deck may also change a bit. He may decide that Effect Veiler is not such an effective choice when he himself is playing first.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who wants to go first. Khang wants to go first, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think Khang wants to go first and Maximilian kind of wants to go second with the Mech Knights. This is the theory-wise. If he actually sees a Mech Knight at some point during the game, then, yeah, he would want to go second.
So we may see, if what we're expecting plays out on the table, both players get to play in the position where their deck actually does a little bit more, which makes for a bit more of an interesting feature match to watch, in that we'll see both decks operating at their full potential.
Right. So they're almost done. They're shuffling up right now.
Okay, so
what are you hoping for in the opening hand if you're sitting in Khang's position?
You want to see Chronograph, you want to see Astrograph, you want to see Dragon Shrine if he plays it. Yes, he does have those.
Allures.
Couple of options.
Allure of Darkness, not necessarily the most important card to see in your opening hand. It's not a deck that actually gains any advantage from an Allure of Darkness. It's just a useful tool to draw through the deck and find the combo pieces if you haven't opened with everything that you need. It's similar to the theory where players previously would play 3 copies of Upstart Goblin to reduce the total cards in the deck, increase the consistency, not actually adding any power.
Right.
Yeah, I remember there was a period, I can't remember exactly which format it was, but everyone would say, yeah, I'm playing 37 cards. You played 3 upstarts in everything.
One thing we should note is that the time that is counting down at the top left is not necessarily the actual time in the round. Kiwi just updated us on that. He said that they have 21 minutes remaining for the feature match, so it's 8 more minutes than what you see in the top left corner. That is because of that game loss for slow play. So that means that they will add even more time to the clock. And the clock is actually currently being stopped.
Yeah, it will be fixed.
But it's going to continue in just a bit. All right, so there's going to be enough time for that last game to be played out in its entirety, basically.
It'll be interesting to see if we actually get to see another duel here where the Mech Knights are used to their full effects.
Yeah, it's fortunately for Maximilian, he does have that chance now. Did not look like it just a few minutes ago.
Just need to hope that Khang doesn't spend so long considering how to best play around those Mech Knight columns.
Yeah, I'm feeling hopeful here. So think we're gonna continue any moment now. And the pressure on these players, of course, is immense. Like, especially with that situation now, where we have tiny delay now, thanks to those technical difficulties. We're not 100% sure when we're going to continue, because there's still like some the judge is going to explain. He's basically laying down the law right now.
Yeah.
He's explaining to them, this is how we're going to continue this match. This is how it's going to conclude this whole thing. So it's a pretty tense situation. I don't want to trade with either of these right now.
No.
So yeah, Kiwi is checking it out with our tech team. They are agreeing on something, and I think in
Yeah, I think there's a few
next to no time.
technical issues with our setup here.
Okay, I think we have problems with the app that is telling us about the cards.
Yeah, and the clock as well.
I think it's more important to keep going, to be honest, than the app working. What would you say, Luke? It's
Yeah, we should try and get the setup back if we can.
okay. We're gonna try for like 1 or 2 more minutes to get that app working.
Yeah.
And if we can't, then yeah, we're gonna do it without the use of the app.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe in the meantime we can look at the top 32 bracket if that is possible. Maybe it is. Maybe we have to run you guys through it.
Are these the top 16 tables we're looking at now?
These are the top 16 tables, yeah. Jan, can you bring up the top 16 bracket? There we go. So you can see we're currently in the upper left corner of that bracket.
On table 1 here we have
This is our feature match. Table 1.
Dinh, Khang, Pham, we know, playing the Pendulum Magicians against the Invoked Mech Knights.
Yeah. Table 2 is Argyris Evangelos from Greece going up against Moritz Wenninger. That is True Draco versus Paleozoic Frogs. Then we're moving to the bottom left corner. Niklas Krebs and Dino Shadol against Emilian Spasov, Pendulum Magician. And let's just finish the left-hand side. Markus Burtchen, Pendulum Magician versus Adrian, who we had in a feature match, Lightspawn Zombie Grass. I think the match is now ready to continue, so let's take you guys back to the feature match table. And let's hope that they can continue their match. Yeah, still hoping.
It's us. I think Sir Action Slacks would be proud of the amount of time we were able to fill here.
Right. So we did talk about what they want in their opening hand. I think everything is working now. We're just waiting for the players to get their cue to start again.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is live. This is a live stream, guys. Things are happening.
Do we have updates on the round clock? Has
Yeah,
that been
I
corrected
think
now?
I think we're ready to go now. We can take it over to the table and start the match,
Okay.
unless there is more that I do not know.
Well, I certainly hope that we are able to get into this round 3, because we haven't seen a lot in round 1 or 2 there. Well, game 1 or game 2.
First couple of games, yeah.
Not a lot happening. It looked like it was going to be an easy sweep for the Pendulum Magicians, but now we've been forced by outside forces through a game loss into that game 3.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll see something a little bit closer. I'd like to see the Mech Knights trying to mount some sort of an attack on a first turn pendulum board. If both players are able to open with an effective hand, a few cards to do something, maybe we'll see a board with a few negations, maybe we'll see some pushes to try and get through those negations. That would be much more exciting than what we've been able to see so far with this round. Not quite living up to what we saw in the Swiss rounds when we had the Mech Knight Invoke decked on stream.
Yeah, absolutely. I think at this point it may be best if we take a short break to try and fix our technical issues before we restart the match. I'm unsure if our tech team is going to be able to take us to a break, though.
I think the tech team is actually distracted because they are trying to fix the app.
Yeah, this is the issue. I think we may need to continue.
Okay.
Well, we can discuss more about the decks that we've got here. Luke, who do you think is the favorite going into this, with the Pendulum Magicians playing first in what is now essentially down to a single game to decide the outcome of this match?
Yeah, to be honest, I think in general, overall, the Mech Knight player has probably got a bit more of a surprise factor to it, just because Khan probably hasn't played all that much against Mech Knights and isn't really prepared for it. But then again, Pendulum have, as we've talked about already, they have just this huge board that they construct during their first turn that, regardless of what the opponent has, just is pretty indestructible.
It is the most consistent deck. That is the reason why it is where it is right now.
Yeah.
We are finally able to go back to the table. So let's go back to the table, guys. We see in the opening hand of Maximilian, there's definitely a Scapegoat among these cards here.
Scapegoat, Invocation, Ash Blossom, and Joyous Spring. One trap card which may well be evenly matched, and I think there might be an Alistair at the back there. It's interesting to see that Khang has forced Maximilian to play first, so he may have seen
the trap card was a Dimensional Barrier.
Okay. That'll be a huge impact in this Dimensional Barrier, being able to shut out the entire turn for a Pendulum
We
player.
did mention that Dimensional Barrier is really good against Pendulums. Khang has Oath Dragon Magician, Pendulum Call, Black Fang Magician, Cosmic Cyclone, Effect Veiler, and Chronograph
And the
Sorcerer.
Cosmic Cyclone being used to snipe one of the back rows. It hits the Dimensional Barrier. The Dimensional Barrier will be chained, so Khang has just thrown away his Cosmic Cyclone at this point to achieve almost nothing. The only thing lost for Maximilian is potentially the surprise factor of that Dimensional Barrier, but it will still lock out all of the special summons of those Pendulum monsters for this whole turn. It looks like Khang has gone straight to his end phase, where we see Scapegoat coming down. From a very weak turn one. It's looking like Maximilian is back in control of this.
Yeah, with just two little actions, really. Setting 2 cards, gets lucky with the hit of that Cosmic Cyclone. And now Dinh Khang Pham is in a pretty bad spot. He has to watch his opponent unload on him. He's going to assemble a gigantic field here. And there's nothing he can do. He doesn't have any cards in hand to stop this from happening, except for the Effect Veiler.
No, there's really not a lot to be done. And if he does want to summon a Mekk-Knight, he can set that Invocation behind the Mrs. Radiant and then summon a Mekk-Knight in that column.
There's potential here for the use of Saryuya. We see a bit of a slow hand from Maximilian at this point. He's able to summon out 4 different monsters.
Yeah.
He could go into the Saryuya and try and find another Dimensional Barrier to lock out a successive turn.
Yeah.
That would just be crazy.
Yeah.
If you just advance to the top 8 by playing Dimensional Barrier twice against Pendulum.
Yeah, as I said here, straight into the back row there behind Mrs. Radiant and another Mekk-Knight, which is big. Purple Nightfall.
This looks to be just shy of 8,000 damage. We see 1,500 attack from each of those Link Spiders, 19 on the Mrs. Radiant, and 2,500 for Purple Nightfall. That will total 7,400. That will be enough for game with the 1,000 paid on the Cosmic Cyclone.
I think they... Yeah, we don't see it here because the app is not working in that regard.
Yeah, we can't see any of this. But yeah, that looks enough to me.
So Khang can at this point say before you end your main phase, he could Effect Veiler the Mrs. Radiant, but he might not have seen that, so that's game over.
That's the end of the game.
That is it, and Maximilian Kießling, very lucky comeback for him here. It seemed like he was out of competition already. But in the end, he is successful, and he's going to advance to the top 8 of YCS Bochum 2018. Wow, what a match. Let's talk about it in the post-match analysis. Yeah, what a thriller. It did go back and forth. It seemed like this was already over with Dinh Khang Pham winning the first game convincingly. Yeah. He was on his way to victory in the second game, then thought for a longer time, which cards am I going to bring out? Which monsters do I need to summon to the field? Yeah. And then after that, which scapegoats do I need to attack to do like maximum damage? Which sounds like I'm not making any sense because all of these are in defense position. Yeah. However, it was all about the placement of those cards and which zones are going to get freed up. And that took too much time. Did get a slow play warning. His 4th of the weekend is what we've been told. That then got upgraded to game loss, of course. And that gave Maximilian Kießling the opening when he had already lost almost. Yeah. And he came back.
Yeah.
Feels a lot like Maximilian might have just dodged a bullet there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, a very big bullet. He dodged a rocket there.
At the same, I don't want to dwell too much on it, but at the same time, I feel that Khang already kind of dodged his own by the previous game loss that he had on our feature match yesterday, because he had essentially lost when he took a game loss. So
yeah,
it's
that is true.
Yeah.
So he got the game loss in the very best of moments yesterday, not today.
And now in the very worst of moments.
So
So it's not that that's ever a good thing, and you know, I'd much prefer it if everyone was able to play the game, but that's what the policy documents are there for, to make sure the players are both getting the same opportunities to play the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
We need to make sure that there's a level playing field for all players that are in a competition, even if it's as large as this weekend's event. And this is the only way to ensure it, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just see a solemn reminder about how you need to keep playing at that reasonable pace.
Yep.
It's going to be interesting to see how that whole thing went down from Maximilian's point of view. We're going to hear from him in our post-match interview in just a few minutes.